So you don't know about the Spanish manga version of Capital?
Nah.
Okay, so this is the version I've read.
Uh,
And I might be wrong about its exact origins because this is just like the person who sent it to me. This is how it was explained to me,
mhm.
you know. But it was supposed to have been. I mean, it's a manga like in like the Japanese style, which I
Huh.
don't normally read. So like I can't really judge it on like any kind of merit or anything. But it was created by like a group of artists in Spain.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's like it's freaking wild, dude. If you're looking for like a illustrated version, you should actually try to hunt this down maybe too. Because this is like one of the coolest things I've ever read in some ways. It kind of falls apart a little towards the end, but it's really good.
I mean, I would watch like an anime version of that probably before I read like the manga. I'm pretty. Isn't there a Marx like anime? Like,
Maybe?
yeah, I feel like I saw a couple years ago like clips, man. Like, I'm gonna
I
YouTube that shit after.
I'm sure he's been like a character in something. I don't know if there needs to be like a dedicated thing. Someone should adapt this thing that I read because it's literally like it's like these dudes that work at a cheese shop and their owner of the shop and then like his investor and like they're all just like I don't know. It's just great. It's really hard to explain, but it's a really amazing story.
Oh my god, dude.
By the end of it, you will hate Capital.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also be thoroughly entertained with pretty images while you're doing it. That's tight. Okay.
Isn't
Yeah,
that the way everything should be?
I mean, hey man, I support political education and the raising of class consciousness through all mediums available. So why
Absolutely.
not, you know?
On that subject, should we take like 5 minutes to talk about your show?
Oh yeah, sure.
So your new podcast just came out, Time of Monsters. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
The first two episodes are out right now. And the third
First three.
episode is it out now?
Yeah, it's out now with
Oh,
with Mariah Parker.
hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
We talked earlier, it hadn't dropped yet, so I didn't know, but that's
Mhm.
awesome. So the first three episodes are out now.
Mhm.
Do you want to just talk a little bit about what's on the first three episodes and like also just maybe like a little bit about what inspired you to get started with Time of Monsters and make this show?
Yeah, sure. I guess what inspired me is I'm kind of doom obsessed, you know. So the whole Posadas thing, although it is a meme, I definitely think there's something appealing about a communist ideology that looks forward to the apocalypse when an entire generation, really a whole kind of country, uh, doesn't see a future, I guess. So I wanted to sort of chronicle our descent into barbarism, uh, and not just our descent, but also like ways in which people fight back. So I have interviews with journalists, and content creators. On the left, a lot of names that people know. And yeah, I'll just talk to them about their work and sort of making sense of where we are. Right.
And so so the first episode you had Sean Kill Babies from the
Yeah,
Intifada.
Sean Kill Babies for the Intifada. Shout out to Sean. Uh,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, what did y'all talk about in
yeah,
brief?
yeah. So like first three episodes, the first one we just did a deep dive into the concept of historical materialism, which is the way Marx's attempt to uh, understand history through analyzing underlying structures, right?
Right.
And that was a really, I think, great primer for the approach that I take in the show when I talk to my guest about the specific fields of interest that they have. The second episode, because I know that, the people that I want to have on, I want to, ask them about a specific interest they have. And I know that Matt Chrisman, he was my second guest, and he loves talking about the
Mhm.
Civil War.
Yeah.
So kind of felt like that was a sort of natural transition to apply historical materialism to one of the bloodiest conflicts in United States history that kind of really crystallized the racial economic caste system. And third episode's out today is with Mariah Parker. She's elected.
Love her.
Yeah, she's tight. You guys have had her on before.
Yep,
your show as well.
we've done a couple things with Mariah, and she's just a good friend of the show. She's incredible. I mean, like when you talk about like a true activist politician and like the kind of people that you want in office, like pushing your viewpoints, you couldn't have better.
Exactly. Yeah, that episode's actually titled after something she said, raising the bar of politician, that you expect to actually serve the public interest, listen to people. So that was a great episode. And then tomorrow and Friday is going to be another Matt. This time Matt Tapia. He's co-chair of Southside Chicago DSA. We talk about DSA in Chicago, electoralism, reformism, and then on Friday, Glenn Greenwald. That episode is going to come out. So yeah.
Well, I love it.
Yeah. We came in, and mind you, this is just like sort of just a little bit of slop for the piggies. I'm joking. I'm not calling you guys pigs out there. But just sort of.
Okay, we make fun of our fans.
Yeah, they like it. But yeah, they after this week we're gonna have 2 episodes a week, which is just gonna be an interview and a weekly update on Sundays to catch folks up on the going-ons in our socioeconomic hellscape. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've been listening to some of it. It's really good. Appreciate you, just bringing that project over here to our sphere and being in our world with it. Cause it's obviously like the coolest thing to come out in terms of a podcast all year. Fuck Michelle Obama.
No, Bad Faith is up there too, man.
I mean,
we'll be coming for you, Brianna Virgil.
They made themselves look like dorks, though.
Oh, with the Chomsky?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I actually agree completely with. I'm on Brianna's side, but also it's just like at the end of the day, it was just an unproductive, unfruitful interview because Chomsky's stance is it's intractable. He's also like not really presenting his argument in a convincing way, so it just ended up being like an hour and a half long conversation about the same thing over and over again. So
I don't know how you feel about this, and I would actually be curious to see what you think about like the ethics of this kind of stuff. But we actually agreed early on as a show that we would never bring someone on just to dunk on them.
Yeah. Well, I think that they weren't expecting. I think that Brianna really thought that. And maybe Virgil didn't give a shit because he's just like, yo, fuck this crusty old liver spotted, motherfucker. Like, yeah, we are gonna dunk on him. But I think Brianna genuinely, because she always comes in good faith, I think she really thought she was going to have a productive conversation with Chomsky about something where it's like, okay, Chomsky, so voting is not the most important thing you could do. Yet, if you don't vote to stop Trump, you're enabling fascism. It's sort of like, which one is it, right? Is voting like not important? You know what I mean? It's just not convincing for millions of working people out there who are disillusioned and feel like they have no reason to vote at all. So,
yeah, I mean, I think what I'll say about Virgil is I think he should have known better, and I say this with respect because he's an absolute professional. I mean, he knows this business. If he didn't know that he was leading into that crummy of a conversation, then he wasn't paying any attention at all, because the way that you invite someone to your show, the way you frame conversations, the topics you choose, and the things that you lean into, that dictates the conversation. And it just seemed like, I don't know, he wanted to kind of roll around in the mud with Chomsky for clicks, and I thought it was a little whack, and from people that I normally like a lot,
Yeah, man. It wasn't good, man. It wasn't good, dude. I mean, I became a patron, because I wanted to listen to that episode, and I don't regret my patronage, but my subscription. But I don't know. It's just sort of like at some point you want your audience to get something out of the interview, and sometimes just dialogue is just good enough as it is, but it just seems circular, and it's like at the end of the day, vote for who you're ever going to vote for, man, or don't vote. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's presidential politics. It's not like your local races are much more important. I'll put it that way. And local organizing, right? It's much more important.
Absolutely. I think also like, what is the logic to saying, oh, voting's not the most important thing, but we're going to dedicate all of our media time to it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, we've dedicated a little bit of time to the presidential election, and then we've moved on for the most part. And like talking about this right now is like the most I've talked about voting on this show in weeks. For president anyway.
Yeah.
Like I've talked about, local offices a lot, but not the presidency.
Yeah, and with my show too, I don't want to limit our, and it's not even a limiting, because I also do think as a leftist that presidential politics, at least we could talk about electoralism, but presidential politics, that sphere of power is so out of reach of the grasp of most working people. I mean, we could even just talk about the Senate, right, and how undemocratic of an institution that is, right? It's Supreme Court. It's just like, but it's so electoralism is just like it's a fuck, right? That's a political science term, right? But it's also just like I don't want to get stuck on talking about electoralism all the time, because this is a time of monsters, man. I think that if anything, then the context of the monsters are the elected officials, right? The monsters are, the policy advisors that allow this horrible shit to happen, and it's much bigger than just like who's going to be president of the United States, especially if we're talking about ecological collapse, which there's very little any elected official, including the president of the United States, can do right now to mitigate the worst effects of climate change. But we could try. So,
yeah. I definitely think, you mentioned the Senate. I think it's important to everyone should look at the House of Lords at some point and how fucked up that is, and then realize the Senate is just a thin coat of paint over that same fucked up thing.
Exactly, man. It's like I mean, even like literally the way that you just said something, like literally the way that the parliamentary system in the United States, Congress, functions is that it's modeled after the UK Parliament, where you do have the House of Commons, right, which is literally was supposed to reflect the common will of the people, versus this aristocratic chamber called the House of Lords. Like even that terminology for you doesn't indicate how completely undemocratic the Senate is. Just even in apportioning, like how the fuck does Wyoming have as many states as California, a state's 13 times its size, its population rather? That's just like fucking insane, dude. But yeah, sorry, I digress. Yeah.
Totally. It's completely. I mean, this is something I actually, have been having this conversation a lot with people recently, because people will say, "Oh, what if we had ranked choice voting, or what if we had this, or what if we had that?" All those things are fine, but we need like 10 of them at this point.
Exactly.
Like we just adding one of them on won't even do anything. Like exactly. We need if we had ranked choice voting, and we eliminated the Electoral College, and we publicly funded our elections, and automatic voter registration, and voting is a holiday,
and expanding the House, by having like multi-member districts instead of single-member districts. I mean, that's why when people talk about a third party, and I'm gonna have an episode on this later on the pod. If we're going to talk about electoralism, I don't think people understand the systemic barriers to having a third party. The fact that state parties run elections, right? That in many of these charters that are written in the state conducting the way elections are supposed to be conducted, that it constrains, the political imagination, right? And thus third parties from actually gaining a foothold. It's just like people are like, well, I mean, I'm not going to talk shit about voting green, because I think people should. I'm not going to vote shame. I think people should vote however the fuck they want. But this idea that if the Green Party gets 5%, that threshold, that they're going to get like federal. I mean, become like, no, dude. Like they're just going to fucking create something else and some other reason why, and just blame the left for why, fucking I don't know who's up next, man. whoever next is going to be president, Pete Buttigieg or some fucking shit. Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to take a quick 30-second break. When we come back, we're going to have our friend Leslie join us, and we'll talk about Rudy Giuliani's compromising photo.
I just found out about this like an hour ago, so this will be interesting.
We'll talk about that in just a second. All right, so I already said this on Twitter, but we all thought a few weeks ago that the Borat sequel was going to be an embarrassing work of cringe that we would all be ashamed of, but we didn't know why. We thought it was going to be because the topic would be bad and outdated and sort of racist and probably classist and other things. It turns out the actual embarrassment is Rudy Giuliani with his hand down his pants in front of a girl who he believed to be underage while the scene was being filmed. So how are y'all feeling about that one?
Can I just say something real quick? What's up, Leslie? I just want to say something real quick. That what's this guy's name? Sacha Cohen. What
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah.
There's one thing that he is very good at, and I've not really watched. I didn't watch Borat. I didn't watch the other one, but he's very good. He had a show. He had done this on the show too, where he just reveals like how evil and depraved like these people are, and they do not realize that it's a bit, right? So they just end up making themselves look like the ghouls that they are. So congratulations to him. He needs an Order of Lenin, because that is great, exposing these pigs for what they are, man. It's great. I love that. Yeah. What do you think, Leslie? How are you feeling about this?
Well, first of all, I think he's brilliant. I mean, I absolutely. I watched from the beginning back in the day because my first husband actually worked on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a vested interest. And he was actually the sound man on that first iteration of his show where he was doing those interviews with people that had no idea that he was a comic. So I think he's brilliant. Rudy Giuliani, I don't even have anything to say about Rudy Giuliani. He's just a fucking train wreck. I mean, why are we even dealing with him? Seriously, why are we even dealing with him? With everything that we know about Rudy, why are we even paying any attention to him at this point?
Good question.
Yeah, man. Like apparently he's also just like, I mean, I'm drunk all the time, right, and high, but right. I'm also not in a position of power and influence as Rudy Giuliani is. So like just the fact that this man is being like trusted with like state secrets and he's just like just always lit and out of his mind is just like, like it's so crazy, dude.
I mean, that is that generation though. If you think about it, you go back and look at like announcers, like off the top of my head, Howard Cosell. Mm-hmm. That generation, the best Howard Cosell and Monday Night Football was when he was lit.
Wait, did it?
It's a generational thing. Also, what's his name? Larry Merchant that used to do HBO boxing. The best episodes was when Larry was drunk as fuck. That's just how guys were back in the day. And I'm not.
It wasn't until Gen X that it became cool to act like you're stoned but be straight edge.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the creeping existential dread, right? As well. That had to factor in that.
I missed that movement. Sorry, guys.
You didn't miss the vibe.
Yeah, it's
That's funny. I will say about Sacha Baron Cohen that I did watch some of Who Is America,
That's the show that I was thinking of. Yeah.
and he did really expose like the really just incredibly fucked upness of conservative politicians in that show.
Mm.
So I guess like I didn't know he had this in him. I just assumed when I saw Borat 2 was announced, I was like, he wants the money. And I don't like whatever. I would probably cash in on my successful film too. Right? Like
Yeah.
So like I didn't expect anything. I just expected it to be just, hey, it's been a long time since I made this successful film. Here's a sequel. I want money.
Mhm.
I wasn't expecting anything like this. I wasn't expecting Who Is America level shit out of it. So props, honestly, because this is like I don't know if I'll watch it necessarily, but I know that I will watch the clips on YouTube.
I'm probably not gonna watch it, but I will also definitely watch those clips, man.
You guys are so non-committal.
Listen, the film industry is dead, Leslie. It's not my fault. Not my fault movie theaters are over. Okay? You can't blame that on me.
It's straight to Prime. So that has nothing to do with shit.
Oh my god, yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, like it just makes me think like how this is gonna come out and people are gonna be horrified. And I mean, Rudy Giuliani is like ancient, so he's probably gonna be dead in like 10 years anyway. But just the rehabilitation of these people, it's like as the more and more we see and how like horrible they are, I just have this creeping, dreadful sensation that like Sean Spicer was on Dancing with the Stars, man. Like less than 6 months after he like left as like the White House press correspondent. So it's just like I'm done, man. I'm fucking done with these ghouls, yo. Send them all to The Hague, please. Fuck, man.
But I definitely will watch. I think it comes out Friday.
Does it?
That's it.
I think it comes. Yeah, I think it comes out Friday. I've got another friend whose wife, like, knows some backstage stuff, and I think it comes out Friday. So I'm definitely going to be watching.
Okay. All right. I might watch it. I can't commit to watching it if it comes out on Friday because it's Halloween month and I'm only watching scary movies. So
That is a scary
That will be a scary movie.
It will be.
That is absolutely a horror flick. Right now, everything is a horror film. Fuck.
I guess, or nothing is. I'm not sure. Let's talk about for a second, just fucking how weird is it, honestly, that we have two weird dick scandals within like 48 hours of each other dominating the news? Like, what is going on right now? Is pandemic really just like fucking people up this much? Like, what's happening?
That people just don't know how to act.
I don't get it because I don't know how you accidentally masturbate in front of people.
He said that he thought. I mean, the reply says it all. He said he thought he was on mute, which he means that he thought his camera was off. So he probably, you know what I mean? Like,
is it not still weird?
It's still weird.
Be in a Zoom call with your colleague.
But also, exactly, right? That's also the thing,
just
right?
hiding the mask. Like, are you listening to your colleagues? That's what's getting you off? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, man. I don't know, man.
I mean, everybody knows that phone sex is weird, even if you just say nothing and just breathe creepily the whole time. You're still being weird.
Yeah, man. I really don't. I don't know.
I don't understand what drives you in. Okay, I'm in a business call. My dick. I just don't understand how those two things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Business call, like we're doing this. I have not thought about my vagina until just now. I don't understand how that connects.
It also just seems like this is somebody who, like lives a life of relative privilege. He's probably got plenty of time for his dick, right? Like
Yeah, you would think so.
And you got nothing to do but adore your own dick. Why in this Zoom call did you feel the need that, you know what, all the time before the Zoom call and all the time I'm going to have after the Zoom call, I can't touch my dick then. I need to touch my dick now while I'm sitting in front of my computer. I don't understand.
Well, maybe Jeffrey Toobin is like, and this is like another example of just, it doesn't matter whether they're like, conservatives or liberals, like maybe they're just all like deeply depraved, where perhaps like that this is Toobin's way of getting back at the people that like he like probably hates, because these people all have to hate each other. Like I don't actually believe that these people like each other, It seems like they're all either in competition for status or recognition or whatever, and they give off this veneer as if they respect each other's work of decorum and shit, but they're all just like assholes, right? So
most
like
of them don't hang out. They
no,
avoid each other outside of work,
or
like,
if they hang out, it's like at like cocktail parties where they're smoozing around with like other reprehensible figures. So maybe it's just like he's just, I don't know, like a fucking weird asshole who got caught. Maybe he thinks like just beating off is the utmost disrespect that he could give to them, and suddenly, he's on mute instead of his camera being off. Jesus, man. And people are defending it too. Like, they saw tweets that would say this person deserves like respect, and we should be humble and forgiveness. And it's like, bro, like working class people don't get the same, deference, right? And the same sort of forgiveness, like
no,
from their employers. Like this guy, Jeffrey Toobin, will be okay. Like he'll be all right. He'll be back on CNN in like a week, yo. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And like, it just seems like, listen, folks, I've been forgiving of like a lot of things during this pandemic, but like, this is too far. This is too far. You got to know where your limits are sometimes. And I really I think like the only reason we even have to have like this stilted of a conversation about it is because of respectability politics. It's obvious there's some kind of sick power shit going on in this guy's mind when he's doing this. And like, we're just not supposed to say that, We're not supposed to say, oh, he's obviously super fucking sick and was like getting off on like some kind of power dynamic over his coworkers. We're supposed to say, we don't know exactly why he did it or whatever, but no, like there's obviously like this. And I think like the fact that, again, that there's two major stories about inappropriate dick handling by like powerful white men in a week is not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Like,
we don't know why he did it. How about this? I don't give a fuck why he did it.
Yeah.
I don't care why he did it. The fact that he did it is all I need to know, and we're done.
I would rather not know why he did it. I don't need.
Yeah, why do we need more details? Why?
Because it's just they just want to save one of their own, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like they just want to save one of their own.
If he gave a reason, if he said, okay, you know what, I did it because of XYZ, would that make a fucking big difference?
No.
It's still weird and creepy.
It's still weird.
Nah, it wouldn't make a
not
lick of
even
difference.
Like levels of weird to me, honestly. Not even a thing where like sometimes there's like nuance, and it's like, okay, explain this, and I might, instead of thinking you're a horrible person, I might think that you just have made mistakes or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's not even nuance to this situation. It doesn't matter.
It's just weird.
Are added to this story. It's fucking weird.
It's just weird and creepy.
This was an absolute conscious act of I'm sitting in front of my computer. The only thing that I can think that might explain it is he forgot where the fuck he was.
Like, he has dementia or something.
Like he forgot he was on a Zoom call and thought he was just cruising porn, and like he had it on mute, so he didn't hear it. That's the only explanation that makes any sense. But even with that being said, throughout your entire day, you had no other daytime?
Yeah.
Really?
Like, yeah, I mean, I think if we're gonna justify this, he needs to come out and publicly admit that he's in late stage dementia.
Yeah, I mean that would might grant him a little bit more sympathy.
Okay. that I can buy. If you read my book, Got Tomorrow's Crazy Days, it's all about dementia. And let me tell you, in 5 years of that fucking story, I saw more geriatric dick that I thought could possibly ever be, because old men with dementia like to drop trout.
So yeah, you want to come out, Jeffrey Toobin? I actually have changed my mind. I will forgive you if you come out with a diagnosis showing that you are in the late stages of dementia and don't have long to live. I think that's the only just
justifiable explanation. Yeah.
And I'll still think you're kind of low key creepy.
Oh no, he'll forever be creepy. He'll forever be creepy.
I'm telling you, I have seen it in nursing homes where guys are just going at it.
No, my grandma had Parkinson's and dementia, and she did a lot of all kinds of insane, not so much sexual, but definitely, let me tell you something, playing with feces.
Yeah.
But people with dementia can get hypersexualized. They can get hypersexualized. My grandmother kept getting found in men's beds.
Believe me, I'm just grateful that wasn't my grandma. Honestly.
For real.
But yeah, like so Jeffrey Toobin, if you have late stage dementia and you only have about a year left to live,
just run with it.
Let us know. Let us know, and we'll consider an amount of amnesty.
Yeah.
Still not full. It's still, to be clear, before there was no option of any amnesty. Now there's an option of a small amount of amnesty. Not full amnesty. That's still not on the table. I just want to be clear about where the boundaries are.
And again, these people will be fine. Like Jeffrey Toobin, like he's going to be reinstated at the New Yorker. I'm pretty sure that somewhere
hired by Quillette.
The Atlantic. Oh God.
Like, think about it. Like, that's the thing. Once you're disgraced, that's part of why these things even exist, probably. Is because once you're disgraced, that's where you get to go. Louis C.K. He tours red states now. Jeffrey Toobin will be writing for the Quillette, or for one of those other, he'll be working for fucking Steven Crowder.
No, man, no.
Steven Crowder will be like, "Hey, I want to welcome my new head staff writer, Jeffrey Toobin."
No, you're just making me think of a scenario where all of these somehow, how the the Democratic Party is sort of subsuming these so-called moderate Republicans into one sort of voting block against Trump. What if we're just gonna get not obviously not next year, but 2024, whenever we get a normal Republican again, if that's possible, but normal meaning that it'll be somebody who has the same exact policies as Trump, but they just talk nice. It could literally be a George W. Bush figure, but in comparison to Trump, it'll be something that's more aesthetically pleasing. And you have people like Jeffrey Toobin writing for fucking I don't know, man, the Federalist or some crazy shit like that. Fucking trying to justify why child labor camps are necessary for 1 billion Americans, some Matty Iglesias type shit. Jesus, man. That is a good pipeline, yo. the Matty Iglesias to Fash pipeline. This man is asking for 1 billion Americans. Like, which Americans are we talking? Like, who are we talking about, dude? Sorry, that's a tangent. But yeah, all these people are ghouls.
Yeah, you're kidding. You're kidding. The sexual predator to fascist journalist pipeline is alive and well.
There just has something to be with the pathos of like elites, where they just like love to just be freaks, man.
I mean, I have said before that all conservatism is sexual dysfunction. How do y'all feel about that statement?
Oh my God.
See, I'm waiting for us to find out that somebody's doing something like in oh God, what is the name of the movie? Hostel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where they're hunting people for sport. Not Hunted, which is the right-wing movie about that.
Oh yeah. I remember that one.
But neither of you have ever seen Hostel?
no,
Yeah,
I
I've seen Hostel.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was why my oldest wanted to backpack to Europe until I saw Hostel. I was like, yeah, sure. And then I saw Hostel. I was like, fuck no. And my husband at the time, their dad, was like, oh, it's just a movie. I'm like, fuck you. No, you don't think there are people with money out there that can pull this shit off? No, absolutely not.
That's fucking hilarious, dude.
And if they're willing to do shit like this on camera, what are they doing behind the scenes?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Why isn't there that?
yeah.
People disappear all the fucking time.
There are unsolved. I mean, like right here in New Mexico, we have a famous unsolved serial killer case. And there have been people that have said, based on how hard it has been to turn up any evidence on this and how carefully all the evidence of this crime was covered up, and like clearly, like the person who did it probably had money, things like that. Like there are a lot of people that suspect that it is or was a cop or politician, because who else would be able to pull off crimes of this kind is like what people are asking, you know, without anyone noticing until it was by chance. These murders, they're called the West Mesa murders. And what happened was they were building a new housing development and they just dug up like 15 murdered women. And they were like, oh, fuck, what the shit? And again, now it's been like 15 years or more since this was originally discovered or something like that. And they have no idea who has done this, supposedly. And it's like, okay, so what are the chances that whoever has done this is very highly connected and is maybe someone like our former fucking governor who was in Jeffrey Epstein's black book and traveled on his plane a bazillion times? I won't say which governor it was.
But that's my point. With Jeffrey Epstein and everything else like that, you think this shit isn't going on? I mean, I'm not generally a conspiracy theorist. I'm really not. But it would not shock me if a story came out that there was a hunting club by the elite who were hunting down poor people that nobody would miss. That would not shock me at all.
No.
I feel like this is like that probably does occur, but it's just distilled into like the meetings and corporate boardrooms where they're just like, you know, placing human lives on the ledger. You know what I mean? Like they're just like assessing like yeah, it might be good enough for some of them, but the other ones are like, nah, we need a taste of like real direct flesh instead of like, you know, Jesus Christ, yeah.
I just want to say about conspiratorial thinking. We've become too ingrained in America to believe that any amount of believing there's anything going on behind the scenes is insane person stuff.
For sure.
Like if you believe there's any scheming at all going on that hasn't been like directly uncovered by journalists already or whatever, then you're an insane person. And of course, we won't think too much about how those journalists came up with the idea to look into those things, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, any amount of conspiratorial thinking is not allowed. And I just want to say, first of all, do you know, this is for everybody out there watching, do you know anybody including yourself, that doesn't scheme, like ever, that never schemes. Because every human I know schemes.
Yeah.
So why would I not believe that the people in power scheme? And then second of all, what I'll say is that Occam's razor has to cut both ways, or you're being delusional at a certain point. If you believe that everything is trustworthy, and this is like the neoliberal problem in a lot of ways, if you believe that everything is trustworthy because you were told that it's trustworthy, you are delusional. And you have to cut the other way sometimes and assume that there is some shady shit going on that you don't know about.
Yeah, no, it takes a really baby brained individual, like, and that's like what most of the takes are from like some of these libs, like people like Chris Hayes. I've commented on him before. Y'all ever notice how he always acts so consistently surprised at like systemic abuses of power? It's like he'll like there's even a gif of him kind of like looking like you know what I mean, like a dog that hears a sound. It's kind of like, it's like these people, I think, and that's why like folks like Bernie and AOC are so offensive to their sensibilities, because they have this idea of the world that's constructed out of some, I don't know, fucking West Wing show miasma, some Aaron Sorkin type shit, where, you know, their understanding of the world is not rooted in reality. And like they just assume that like people are supposed to go along with like whatever the State Department tells you, wherever the president's office tells you. And even in the way that they handle Trump, you know, it's like just constantly being incredulous, where it's like, no, dude,
Right.
like we all aware, we all up on this shit. Y'all are just now finding out. You know? Jesus.
Yeah. That like that credulity, that respectability stuff. This is why we don't respect it on the left. Is because respectability is what leads to these ghouls just being allowed to just stand in front of a camera and lie. And as long as they do it earnestly, then no one is allowed to just call them a liar. We have to instead examine their beliefs closely and, you know, look for our differences and maybe agree to disagree here and there and all that kind of shit. And it's like, no, fuck no. Fuck no.
That's really not the way like politics works, yo. Like, I'm
No.
sorry, like I know they would like to think of this like Athenian type democracy, but it's like the Republicans know what it is. They're just ruthless, you know.
Also, no one ever talks about the groups that like the Athenian and, you know, the Athenian democracies and the Roman parliamentary systems left behind when they idealize, you know, these ideas of people standing around in togas, you know, being civil and debating ideas in the public forum or whatever. It's like, you know, that they had some slaves, right? And that those people didn't get to debate.
Exactly.
Like,
or vote. They didn't own property. They couldn't vote. You know what I mean? Jesus.
So let me ask you guys this. Do you think that your generations will fix it?
No idea.
Probably not. We won't have enough time, ecologically speaking. But no.
I actually think that the time pressure is one of the only reasons why we might. It is because I think like the pressure of climate change is going to be so immense that it may cause us to, you know, really rethink a lot of our political strategies and social strategies in a rapid way. And this does happen historically under like times of great historical pressure. You know, you can look at like you know, the period of migration in like the 400s in like the Middle East and Europe, or you can look at like even further back to like, you know, the ice age that changed the Americas and the people here, the original people here. You know, and like in any of these situations, humans have generally survived, and I actually believe that we will survive this one as well. But there's going to be an incredible amount of pressure on us. And we're going to have to create systems that can survive under that pressure. And if COVID has shown us anything, it is that our systems cannot survive under any amount of pressure right now.
No.
So we could see drastic change in our lifetimes, is what I believe, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason why I asked that is because in 2016 is when I started to think about this, and I don't know if I'm right, but it feels like to me what I always thought the fall of Rome would have felt like just beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was got this kind of idea, this outlook from the Trillbillies. Shout out to them wearing their shirt, whatever. But as Terrence said, it was funny, depressing. But like the slide and like barbarism in the United States might be a lot less interesting than a civil war, because the institutions themselves are already oriented towards like conservatism and sort of like, you know, fascistic methods of control and surveillance and whatnot. So like, but then again, we also have like this, you know, like consumer driven society, not just in consumer goods, but services and entertainment, where like it might just be a lot more of a boring kind of fascism that doesn't necessitate any sort of like violent like seizure of power. Or I mean, I wouldn't say it would be completely calm, because again, I think the ecological collapse element is going to cause a lot of social upheaval. But like, you know, it's like everybody might be expecting that one big thing to happen, right? But it doesn't happen, and it's all a bunch of little things that happen until one day you're like looking around and you're like, "Yo, what the fuck, dude?" You know what I mean? Like, what went on here? So that's the depressing aspect, I guess, of it. For but I don't know. I remain what is it? A cautious optimist, I guess it is. Yeah. So
Yeah. Same, honestly.
it might be okay.
My personal theory is that I think that what we're headed towards is probably going to resemble the collapse of the USSR. I think that you see this, in my opinion, in the way that states presently are like demanding more autonomy over some of their decisions, you know, rejecting what the federal government says, fighting with the federal government directly in an economic sense, not in a, you know, in a violent sense, but like, you know, there are direct economic battles between the federal government and the states going on during the pandemic. You know, so basically the collapse of the USSR looked like this. The major structure that was the USSR could no longer provide services to the member states, and so it collapsed.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like especially when we're looking at stuff like the possibility of the post office being defunded. That's what I feel like we're looking at.
Yeah, and I think too, what's dangerous about that too is that fascism, another way to look at it is it's when imperialist colonial tactics are brought home, like inward or directed inward. So like I think when you look at just the heightening of mass surveillance and the you know, the law enforcement and the militarization of the police, like that's what makes it scary, you know, like that's what makes it like just this whole summer, like not all, but protests all across the country. They captured many white Americans who for the first time were able to see the way Black communities are treated every day, maybe even just a fraction of the way Black communities are treated, but still being horrified because the police are like mask off right now. You know, they're like pushing over like old men and like putting out the eyes of fucking kids and shit at It's just like, yeah, that's I heard that God, what is it? It's some general or something like that wouldn't comment on whether troops would be deployed on election day to polling sites and stuff like that. And it's just like, wait, what? Like, what is going on? Yeah.
Great. It's not great.
It's a time of monsters, indeed. Yeah.
One opportunity I do think that we would have here, though, compared to like the collapse of the USSR, is that the collapse of the USSR in part bred so much fascism in Eastern Europe because they were directly rejecting socialism. You know, like because socialism had in effect failed them. And we could get into it. We could do a whole episode about the pros and cons and I would definitely argue that the USSR did more good than harm on a lot of levels.
Oh hell yeah!
But in the end, it was failing them, and that's not a question.
Mhm.
And so you know, they then wanted to kind of turn away from the system which they saw as failing them, which was socialism. Here, if the systems were to collapse, I think a lot of people would be driven in the opposite direction. And that does give me hope, you know, because I think a lot of people would look at, okay, well, these systems didn't work. These capitalist, you know, oligarchic, Republican systems did not work, and that they would be driven away from that and hopefully towards something more liberal in a true sense, not in a political sense, more libertarian, more progressive, more, you know, inclusive.
Yeah. Libertarian in the original meaning of the word.
Correct. Yes.
No, I agree, man. It's just I think that's going to necessitate some sort of organized, united left-wing progressive front, because if there isn't if there isn't anywhere for that sort of energy to go, I'm just really worried that, I know this sounds crazy, but you're already seeing it in Republicans. Like you saw it in Trump, you know, his faux populism. And I mean, it's all for right-wing populism is all sort of faux populism. Or I shouldn't say it is populism, but it's not really directed in the interest of like improving people's lives. Some people, right? But if the Republicans are able to like become this party where they get to be racist, but also like somewhat going into a redistributive sort of economics, right? And you're already seeing this with senators like Josh Hawley, I think he's from Missouri, who like points to Facebook and Twitter and the corporate elite as like, you know, the evils of liberalism. You know what I mean? But he's definitely not anti-capitalist. But if the right is able to seize upon that frustration while the Democratic Party becomes like a party that's just aesthetic and worried about whether or not we should cancel Aunt Jemima or some stupid shit like that, like through virtue, you know, the virtue signaling like they do, then like we're in fucking trouble, yo, because yeah, we're gonna be in big trouble. So
yeah. Well said. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for yet another day here in the hellscape
and hell world,
viewing it through the telescope from the Not Safe for Wonks bunker where we record all of these episodes. Leslie, thank you for joining us as always. And same to you, Aaron.
Thanks for having me. Oh, can I throw something out there, Kennedy?
Of course. What do you want to plug? What's going on?
So my show, Into the Abyss, has changed days. It is switching from Fridays at 8 to Saturdays at 8. And I have a new co-host of Grav.
Hey.
I knew about this, but I've been waiting for the news to be official. That's very exciting. Right. I think you and Grav are gonna make a great team for that show, and I'm really stoked to see where it goes from here. So yeah,
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah,
thank you.
And Aaron,
and then I want to throw one other thing out there at Aaron. Yep. Aaron, my name is Leslie with an S. There's no Z in my fucking name.
I'm from New York, man. I got everything. Called out.
Aaron, we already talked about your show a bunch, but real quick, do still plug. Where can people find it? Where can people get it?
Yeah, people can. Right now, we're still trying to get episodes out to all podcasting platforms, but you can go to patreon.com/AtomPod, as in ATOM. Or you could just check out Twitter at Adam_pod, where you can be updated. And soon it's on Spotify now and some other podcasting platforms, and soon it'll be everywhere. Thanks to you, Kennedy. Appreciate you, comrade.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, and if you want to support our show, head on over to patreon.com/notsafe, or head over to YouTube/C/notsafe media to give us that subscribe over there. That also makes a difference. But if you we are independent media, so if you really want to do the most, patreon.com/notsafe is the place to go. Drop us a few bucks. We do very much appreciate it. It helps us make the work we do possible and allow us to do ever more. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Is it happening? Is it happening?
No, it's not.
I hit the button. This is the most unpredictable part of this whole process. Is never knowing
where the show's gonna.
we're getting more. The viewers are going up and down. They don't know what's happening. We don't know what's happening.
They're like, should we come back in?
It says having check your internet connection. So I don't need to check my internet connection. I need to.
I just need
to. Well,
That's
this is
weird.
cool. This is great. All right. Leslie, come up with one more topic. Rapid fire
Wait,
round.
I think I got it.